You guys, Erin here, dropping in to give you this week's astrological update. It is a very, very fascinating blend of energies we've got coming up here. And I'm really talking about between the days of Friday, May 26th and Friday, June 2nd. Okay, now I think probably the most significant thing to focus on here is the fact that the sun just moved into the sign of Gemini. So with that said, happy solar return to all you Geminis out there. Now, you certainly don't have to be a Gemini to be experiencing this Gemini energy. We're all receiving this Gemini energy right now. Okay, the sun up in the sky is transiting through the sign of Gemini. The sun's clearly the brightest light in the sky. So we're all getting beamed with this Gemini energy. And not only that, but I believe it is on June 11th, Mercury will also enter into the sign of Gemini. And then on June 19th, we're going to have a new moon in the sign of Gemini. That's the time to manifest new beginnings that are associated with this sign of Gemini. Okay, so let's break down the sign of Gemini. Gemini is what we call the mutable air sign. Now, when I say mutable, what I'm talking about is adaptability. Okay, it's a very adaptable energy. Can have a tendency to hang out with all different types of people. Can also be very, very popular energy. Now, when I'm talking about the element of air, we're talking about intellect. Okay, this is a very intellectual energy. The sign of Gemini is. In fact, it's like the student that always pays attention to the facts. Okay, now also the sign of Gemini, it's the sign of communication. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is such an important character to understand. Okay, basically, Mercury is the messenger of the gods. And in Greek mythology, Mercury is Hermes. Now, it is said that Hermes authored the Emerald Tablets. Clearly, there's some very important information that was communicated through that. The sign of Gemini can have so much to do with being the messenger, okay? Being the one who takes the information out and then relays it to somebody else, okay? And that comes from Mercury. Now, basically, we're constantly receiving information. Our brain is constantly, whether we're reading a book or having a conversation or watching a movie or looking at social media, whatever it is, we're constantly receiving information. And it's Mercury's job to take that information in. And then basically, Mercury puts a label on that file or puts a hashtag on it and files it away somewhere in our consciousness. Then when we want to communicate that information, when we want to go relay the message to somebody else, like let's say you watched a movie last night and the next day you want to tell a friend about it, it's Mercury's job to go find that file with the information on it so that you can communicate it. Okay, that is very Gemini energy. It's about being the communicator. Okay, now it's represented by the twins. Okay, in fact, this sign of Gemini is very much associated with siblings. Okay, maybe there's something going on with siblings in your life right now. Maybe it's time to maybe communicate with the siblings if that's what needs to happen. Could be any of these things. Certainly doesn't have to be siblings, but it is represented by the twins. Now, there can be a strong tendency for this Gemini energy to kind of feel two ways about something at the exact same time, okay? Because it's the sign of duality. In fact, it rules the hands, it rules the arms, also rules the lungs. It's a good time to be paying attention to our lungs through this transit. But also just based on that, okay, this is a time, maybe you're somebody who wants to author a book, or maybe you're trying to, communicate a message through your website. Maybe you're somebody who's trying to get a message out on social media, or maybe it's something more like you need to communicate something to somebody. It's a really good time to be thinking about that, to be focusing on that, especially since Mercury, Gemini's ruler, is going to enter into Gemini in just over a week here. Okay, so this is a really good time to be focusing on all these things, but something else to mention here. We also still have a bunch of Taurus energy going on. Okay, we've got Jupiter in Taurus, we've got the North Node in Taurus, we've got Uranus in Taurus. Currently, Mercury is still in Taurus, but again, that's just till June 11th. Now, that sign of Taurus, it's the fixed earth sign, so it's stable. We actually have some good stability right now, and we've also got water, okay? We've got Saturn going through Pisces, but more importantly, we've got Venus going through Cancer, which is a water sign. I love Venus transiting through Cancer. It's such a lovely, romantic, empathetic, receptive type of energy, okay? Very feminine energy. But then we've also got Mars, who just entered into Leo. Okay, that's fiery, hot, that's aggressive, that's masculine, that's courageous, but also kind of playful. A lot of playful energies between, because Gemini can be very playful too. And then Mars going through Leo can also be almost like aggressively playful. So we've got a combination of all these things, a really nice blend of the elements, a really nice just blend of energies overall. It's almost like a time to kind of not be too stressed out about other things that are going on. It's kind of just a time to embrace this energy. And not only that, but again, I'd be thinking about, how do you want to grow in these ways? How do you want to grow in the ways that are related to the sign of Gemini? Be preparing yourself for that new moon in the sign of Gemini, again, coming up on June 19th. Okay, now something else to mention here. We all experience this as a collective, all of us. Everybody receives this Gemini energy, but it's so incredibly unique to each and every one of us. Where does the sign of Gemini come through your natal chart? Do you have anything prominent in the sign of Gemini in your natal chart? Let's say you've got Mars in Gemini. Well, if you this is one example. If you have Mars in Gemini, well, if here's Mars in your natal chart and the sun up in the sky is moving along and it comes and sits right on top of where Mars was when you were born, that's a time to take action, because again, Mars, he's aggressive. That's time to move forward. That's time to do something. A lot of times people will just get like an extra surge of energy, when the sun transits over on Mars. But also, which area of your life does this sign of Gemini come through? Of course, we all, even if you don't have any planets or celestial bodies in the sign of Gemini, we all have the sign of Gemini somewhere in our natal chart. It could be coming through your house of communication, your house of relationships, your house of money, your house of karma, your house of health, your house of transformation. There's all these different areas of your life that could be getting activated by this sun's energy right now. When you get a reading with me, I offer you a free video recording so that you can always go back to that recording. We pull up the chart, we go through all the houses, we go through everything, so that when you want to understand, when I'm talking about any zodiac sign, let's say I'm talking about the sign of Aquarius or Pisces or Taurus or Leo or whatever it is, you can go back to the recording and see, oh, okay, which area of my life does this rule? Oh, this sign of Gemini rules, my career. This is a time to be focusing on my career. Or this rules my house of relationships. This is a time to put the energy towards the relationship. Okay. So that's why it's so good to get familiar with your natal chart. So if you'd like to schedule a reading with me, you can schedule straight through the East West website. You just go to eastwestbooks.org. And on the top of that website, you're going to see a link that says Readers and Healers. When you click there, it's very self-explanatory to schedule a reading with me. Okay, you guys, I do hope to hear from some of you. And until next time, namaste to all of you.